All right, folks, we're back. We're excited to be back for this year. This is the first time we've actually been live this year, so I'm pretty geeked about that. Tyler, how are
First
you?
stream of the year. Welcome, welcome.
You're back from vacation, so how was your vacation, sir?
I don't know. There wasn't enough SIP ladder diagrams on the beach. I think I missed it too much. We just can't live
Yeah,
without it.
I hope not. I hope you're kidding there. But I'm glad you got time to go away. You were in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, like I said before, me and my wife got married in Costa Rica, so great, great place to visit, for sure.
Get away from the snow. We've been getting hit hard last few weeks here.
Yeah, it's 8
in the
degrees
States.
here today. So how cold is it for you?
Yeah, it dipped down below. It was like almost 0 last night.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you survived, good brother. So I think this episode, first episode of the year. I think first thing I want to talk about is the things that I kind of look forward to do for dSIPRouter this year. And I'm just going to talk about high level. We'll be talking about them in more detail in future episodes. But I think the first thing is that I want to get dSIPRouter to 1.0, right? So I think that's the big thing for me, is just to get it to a point where it's 1.0, and that's going to actually mean that there's going to be a lot of changes. Not anything that you guys will be able to really tell, but architecturally underneath the covers, we're going to be moving to a new architecture. So we'll talk more about the details in upcoming episodes, but that's going to require, I think, it's a big enough change that we need to move the version number to 1.0. And I'm super excited about that. And the other thing is that I'm excited is that our subscriptions for dSIPRouter has gradually been increasing. So just getting to work with different use cases, different customers. I'm excited to continue that in 2025. So Tyler, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody who has been with us throughout this journey. We've learned a lot of lessons throughout this time. We've listened to your feedback. We've implemented plenty of features, bug fixes directly from your contributions, from your Slack messages, from your calls. So thanks everybody for your input, and we're gonna keep on. As we make changes here, everybody's gonna get a say in it. We're gonna have a direction, but we want it based on obviously what you guys want, and that's why we're here. Make good software that you guys like, right?
Yeah, and to add on, so you didn't answer. What stuff do you want to? What stuff are you excited about this year?
Oh yeah. So that's the preface. Yeah. So thanks for 2024. So this year, yeah, I'm pretty excited to get to go back and do some RPM and some deb packaging. So we had throughout our history of this project, we've had a lot of stability issues with the dependencies on the installation process. And I want to get all that just packaged and tagged out, everything versioned. And that's what we've been slowly moving towards. But I think it's probably not going to be this release that will have all of that packaged, but we'll have the main components. And then by the probably, Q2, we'll have Q3, we'll have everything packaged up for the installation process. I'm pretty excited for that. I know not everybody else thinks the installation and dependencies are sexy and fun, but when you have to go look at them every other day because some other change or issue, it's great to have those things be static and tagged and versioned out.
Yeah. Amen, man, amen. So I can't wait for that to happen, because that'll stop some support issues. And quite honestly, when when people aren't able to install, that means that we're not attracting new people, because we all know that just like apps on your phone, there's a ton of open source projects, and people will download a project, and if it doesn't work, they're not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. So we definitely want to make that first impression the best.
Especially if our installation process is, go use the install script or go to GitHub. That process just has to be solid.
Rock solid.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And I appreciate you, Tyler, for really being passionate about it, because you gotta be passionate about the stuff in order to like do it. Because like you said, it's not necessarily sexy, but it's like a underpinning like requirement in order to have a successful project. So with that, we say thank you, Tyler.
Thanks.
I know today, Tyler, you wanted to talk about something that we've been spending a little bit of time on with a new customer. It was around, call limiting, and I guess it would be what do we call it? CPS, I guess, anti-flooding. I don't know what to categorize it as. What do you categorize it as?
Yeah, so restrictions are anti-flooding as a whole. I'll kind of like go over a summary of what we're offering, with dSIPRouter. And then we'll kind of go into a couple of features that we have here, and I'll just because I know a lot of people aren't utilizing this yet, and we've had several customers in the past couple of weeks and past couple of months that have been saying, hey, how do I use these things? So I just want to give a quick overview of the rate limiting features. So there's two types of rate limiting that we're supporting right now. We have concurrent call limits. So you can set on your endpoint groups a limit at, let's just say, 2 calls. And then once the third call comes in, if there's 2 calls already open, that third call will get denied, basically. The second one is the rate limiting, or calls per second rate limiting. And that's just basically if you have, so the default is actually 25 requests per second. If you have the 26th request, on average, then that one will just get dropped. So those are the 2 different types. It's and right now the concurrent call limiting is on the endpoint groups, so it's per endpoint group, and the rate limiting is per source address, so it's a global setting. And I'll kind of just share my screen and show each one of those. I'll give a little dangerous demo here too of our call limiting. So if we look over here, let's go ahead and just show I have a quick setup here. There's a test carrier group. That's just going to be me acting as carrier coming in. And we have our endpoint group here. This is just a free PBX box I have set up. If we go over to the call settings tab right here, you'll see we have this setting max concurrent calls. Right now, I have it set to nothing, so there's no concurrent call limiting. And we'll demonstrate that allows us to do 2 calls at a time. Then after that, we'll come back and show when we change it, how it blocks it. And then I just have an inbound route pointing to that endpoint group. Pretty simple. I'm going to bring up our favorite tool here, SNgrep. And I'm going to go ahead and send 2 calls at once just to show that will go through. So I have this phone connected to free PBX. This phone is going to connect as the carrier to dSIPRouter. And then I have another one on my phone here. This will connect to dSIPRouter as a carrier as well. So let's get this one. We can see that comes in. We're going to have a bunch of echo. And the second one, go ahead and make that on my phone. All right, you can see that one's coming in. I could go over there and answer that. But we can see we have 2 calls up at once. I'm going to go ahead and tear those down. Pick that up. So we can see the first call came in, was answered. Second call, answered. Great. Let's go ahead and go back. And now, if I had a customer that I would want to only give them a certain amount of lines, so let's just say they can only have 1 call, one concurrent call open at a time, so like 1 line. I can set it over here on our max concurrent calls to set it to 1. Go ahead and hit update. And we'll reload Camilio. And now what should happen, coming back to our capturing tool, I should be able to make the first call, and then the second call, I should see a reply coming back saying it's denied. So let's go ahead and bring those up. We'll open up the first call. Now I'll mute that so I don't have an echo. And now on my phone, I'm gonna come in the second call. And on this invite, you can see call limit exceeded. So cool. This is, yep, that's concurrent call limiting. That's what it kind of looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of those. And basically that's coming from a carrier group to the endpoint group, but setting it for this endpoint group, that would also be coming from the endpoint group to anywhere else. So if it goes from this endpoint group to a carrier, it's an outbound call, that's going to be counted towards the limit as well. So you can give them, a max of 50 concurrent calls or 20 concurrent calls, and then that's basically lines that are available inbound or outbound from this endpoint group. Quick note on the carrier groups, we don't have that same setting, but you usually set it on the endpoint group. Maybe in the future we'll get the feature parity there with the carrier groups, so you can have that as well. Yeah, so that's a little demo on the concurrent call limiting. I also did mention earlier we have rate limiting. So the rate limiting is not in the UI, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I'm going to come over here to the terminal and just show some of those settings. They're in your Camilio config. For anybody who wants to dig into those a little bit further, in the future, we'll get these into the UI as well. So I'm just going to bring up my Camilio config here. And looks like I'm already there. So the module is called Pike. I'll put a link to the documentation, the Camilio documentation as well. But basically, this is a global setting. All you have to do is come in here, and if you want to allow more, if you want to increase or decrease the rate limit for this instance, this box, you're going to come set these parameters right here. The sampling time unit is the time over which you're limiting, and then the request density per unit is the number of requests within that time unit. So this one, 2 out of 50, that'd be 25 requests per second, 25 calls per second. So that's what's limited at right now. If you want to look into that, like I said, I'll put the link to the documentation for Pike in the description below. I'll also give a quick mention over here. There's this HTable, this one called IP ban. It's basically what's holding those temporary blocks. If you look over here, the one thing I want to note is we have auto expire at 300. That's 300 seconds. So after 5 minutes, that will basically clear out that entry. So not blocking them anymore. If you want to set that higher or lower, you can change that auto expire. And I think that's all I'm going to go into. After you change your Camilio config, just make sure you give it a reload. So dSIPRouter restart, I can type -cam, and then you'd be good to go. So that's a quick overview of the different rate limiting features we have here in dSIPRouter. I hope that was helpful for everybody. I know a ton of people, not a lot of people have been asking about it, but I want to make sure everybody understands the features. What'd you think, Mac?
No, that's cool, man. No, I think this is something we, obviously, we need to put more of these things into the UI and make it easier for people. But I think, the call limiting is always super cool, because I think a lot of people are trying to obviously run a business using dSIPRouter. And if you want to ensure that, their customers are not taking advantage of, of them, basically, the best thing to do is to be able to, put in some call limits, right? Especially in situations where you're having people pay per SIP trunk type of deal. If you're doing billing, then yeah, it's not a big deal. But if you're like, I like to keep things simple. I rather charge somebody per a maximum number of SIP trunks every month, and this feature allows people to do that, right? And so I think it's a very cool feature. So I'm super excited that we talked about it today.
Yeah, so I mean, some of these are more like the carrier grade features that we've we've talked about this a couple times before, but yeah, the carrier level features, the SIGLEX, you're gonna need this stuff. You're gonna have to group and partition your users up, and you're gonna have to group and partition the resources you give them. Right? You can't just give all your CPUs out to one customer. Right?
Yeah. I think that's important. And I think we'll what we want to do is hear more from people. And I think that's the other thing I wanted to talk about is the last thing here before we wrap up here, and I'll let you go. What I look forward to this month in particular is getting out and the next 3 months, getting out and talking to more customers and more of our partners and getting to understand what they need. So if I know we're going to be at Chameleon World. AstroCon, it's happening in about a month. We haven't really talked about it, so we might be there. I'm hoping to be there at least for a couple of days. But we want to really get out and talk to folks. So if you're going to be at one of these events, let us know, and we'll let us schedule time just to sit down and have a coffee and just talk through how you're using dSIPRouter and how we can make it better. So that's it. How about you, man?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm really excited to go hit the conferences and just do more customer discovery and see what other issues people are running into. Because it's not as good over the phone, as in person, where you get to kind of meet the whole team and then see what everybody's really struggling through, and body language. You'll know if somebody's really struggling with something versus like, oh, I've seen this once. Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited. Really excited.
And you get to see their body language too. So I think that's important. So, all right. Well, this has been a great episode. We like to keep these really short and sweet. I don't have anything, any last words here, Tyler. How about you? Anything, any last words for you?
No. Welcome to the new year, everybody. That's it.
Welcome to the new year. Hey, you can subscribe to our channel. You can click the button below to subscribe. Also, there will be a link to our Slack channel as well. So take care and happy new year.
Happy New Year.